Oh, a lot of things changed. New teams, new life, new wife, new president. However you take it, the NFL trade deadline has closed, and we currently have new players for either contending teams or desperate teams trying to luxuate any chances for newer talent to rebuild. We have the NFL trade deadline. Other than the ones that were notified through from earlier around mid to late October, involving Cam Robinson going to the Vikings, Deontay Johnson going to the Baltimore Ravens, or getting Joshua Uche and DeAndre Hopkins to the Kansas City Chiefs. We closed out around November 5th, where we had a bunch of acquisitions involving All-Pro corner going to the Washington Commanders, Marshawn Lattimore for 2025's third, fourth, and fifth round pick to the New Orleans Saints after a very downtrodden year involving an experienced corner with playoffs that had playoff tenure. Now over in the prime over his career over a red hot Commanders team that are top of the NFC East. So that's a big quintuple signing for a lot of leveraging picks that the Saints need, knowing that they possibly need to pick up a new quarterback, knowing Derek Carr's possibly not the answer over the season. Mind you, he did get injured. Mike Williams headed to the Pittsburgh Steelers for a fifth-round pick and an extension $627,000 that they have to pay off. Preston Smith, defensive end from the Green Bay Packers, going for a seventh-round pick. San Francisco 49ers finally get some notable nose tackle out of Khalil Davis from the Houston Texans to pick up on pass rushing, because I feel like the Niners really need additional pressure over in the quarterback or secondary and middle linebacking core. Been pushing off deflections and getting over turnovers. It's just been Nick Bosa over the pressure, over the pass rush. And most of the time, it's just pressuring quarterback stats. Statistical margin, we haven't been really getting the stop plays. We're not clutching sacks over in third down conversions. So getting Khalil Davis was a practicable, a very big answer for us. 29-year-old corner as well from the LA Rams, part of the fleecing from the Buffalo Bills. Tre'Davious White goes to the Baltimore Ravens to be in already a massive supporting cast in the secondary unit for the Baltimore Ravens to help them with their contending feats in the AFC North. And this already with a struggling Bengals squad, possibly the worst on paper I've seen since leaving Joe Mixon. They had to drop another 30 points to even contend. And it's already worse enough knowing what they got to do to even stay ahead of the curb, to still be even a wild card contender. Because now the Baltimore Ravens just plussed it for only, a fifth round? Seventh round pick for 2026. Going to the LA Rams. And the Rams have their own issues, but at least they're somewhat still competitive. And now you're going to join Humphreys. You're going to join Marlon Humphreys from the Baltimore Ravens, as well as Hamilton. Ravens looking scarier and scarier, and they're only tied with the Pittsburgh Steelers if it wasn't including their bye after the win against the New York Giants. And now you have a great secondary unit with Marlon Humphreys. You got Marcus Williams, that also formerly a New Orleans Saints. Patrick Ricard. You got Eddie Jackson. That was a notable safety for a few years. Aaron Washington, that I don't think he gets a lot of playing time, but you get somebody that can back up and kind of be that not really a notable ball hawk, kind of more of a disrupting corner, very physical. You kind of leave that over for Hamilton to pick up over the ball hawk, very clutch around the red zone. So now you're going to get Tre'Davious White, that's possibly going to be a major starter in the continuing games that are very important, knowing that the Baltimore Ravens get divisional opponents that are a very offensive powerhouse. And then they got a 2-game road trip against the Steelers. Then they close out against the Chargers. Then the Eagles off a bye. They'll close off against the Giants. Kind of an easy following schedule, except they got the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's a very tough divisional opponent. At least they have more home field advantage, but very defensive unit. Houston Texans possibly the toughest to clutch out on the road come week 17. Then they close out against the Browns that are absolute garbage. So that's the biggest upside going in the latter half of the season. Marshawn Lattimore had to go. All-pro corner. Wasting over his prime. Sadly, at least Cameron Jordan's going to go to Canton. Guessing so. With the consistent stats that he keep having. Preston Smith, already an aggressive pass rush. Over the quarterback situation. And at least the Steelers are still getting winning football. And I don't know if they've truly been tested. But now you get a new receiver. To help over at George Pickens, not bailing you guys out of third down conversions. And already a very stuffed up pass rush that's going to help you guys over in the long run. For Steelers, that's already like a very notable defensive team that always competes over in the postseason before they get disappointingly shut out in the first round. There's been no acquisitions except Jonathan Mingo to help over in the receiving core involving the Carolina Panthers. That yes, the Cowboys needed a new receiver. Because if it wasn't for CeeDee Lamb, a lot of games, especially the game against the San Francisco 49ers, would have went under 15 points. They're lucky that they're still somewhat only 2 games below 500. What still Mike McCarthy, I'm not hearing anything about him over in the hot seat except Dak Prescott. When either Brandon Cooks only had like 2 weeks of good football being played, then he get injured. Dalvin Cook barely being a non-factor or barely getting playing time. And at this point, their entire receiving core is cooked. But interesting. A lot of unpredictable moves. I thought Marshawn Lattimore would be a mainstay, but knowing his expectations and the Saints organization not seeming like they already know what the future holds, knowing their head coach is gone after a 2-7 start to the season. Same thing happened with the New York Jets, but it took only 6 games until they fired Robert Saleh. To be fair, Dennis Allen did end 2-7. They really haven't made a playoff appearance since 2019. They haven't made a playoff appearance since losing the divisional round. So and that was 2020. So it's just a mediocrity in developing over a new coaching staff. It makes sense for the Steelers to feel like they need an instant restart button, especially when it goes over the threshold of the coach. I mean, Marshawn Lattimore trying to push over for assets to build over a squad that's probably going to be shoveling down mediocrity for the next couple of years. You got to get rid of some talent to see if you can leverage some first round, some draft picks. But that's it. That's it. Over on the DST show. Very interesting. I'm satisfied with our deadline acquisitions. Some people think we needed a receiver just like the Steelers. When we lost Brandon Ayuk to a terrible ankle injury. Deebo Samuel can only do so much, and he's not that projected as a deep threat over in the receiving core, and we're reluctantly adding more minutes to the rookie. And we're only falling sub 500, missing a game above, and we only got leverage against the Cowboys because they haven't really changed their roster that much. So next we face a very competitive offensive team with one of the better performing quarterbacks in the NFL out of Baker Mayfield. He's been actually outstanding, even though up and down performances as a whole for the Buccaneers. So it would be interesting to see how we come out of this situation. And we need to still know what's going to happen, knowing we lose good receivers like Jawan Jennings and Jake Moody still out with an ankle injury. And we don't know if we're still going to get much off Kittle if he loses out, or if Deebo is, loosening up his wrist injury. We gotta know what's gonna be our rotation heading forward. Because most of our receivers this season kind of took a downfall in production. And that sucks. Ayuk only caught 2 of 6 targets against his game against the Chiefs. And even though the Bucks are a pretty good offensive team, Mike Evans still putting up consistent numbers. Their defense really leverages out a lot of games that should be winnable for the Buccaneers. But tell me how you guys feel about the trade deadline. You guys feel like it satisfied your team? You think it was the right moves? That's it for me this season. This trade deadline video. Hope you guys had a great Halloween and a better Thanksgiving in the future. That's it for me.